What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the video. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, I maintained a journal for 365 days. Journaling was something I really picked up back in the summer of 2021. It was sort of an on again, off again sort of thing, and it wasn't until November of 2021 that I decided to get really serious with journaling, and so I made a commitment to myself that for the next 365 days, I was going to attempt to journal every single day. So, 124 pages and nearly 76,000 words later, I wanted to share what I've learned with you guys, as well as provide some tips and tricks for what you guys can do to get started with your own journal. So the first thing I really learned about journaling was that journaling helps you with self-awareness and recognizing your own thought patterns. Journaling really allowed me to hash out what I was feeling and thinking. Often, if I had a tough day or if I just wasn't really feeling that great, journaling allowed me to hash out those feelings and emotions, but then it also allowed me to sit there and kind of ponder and question why I was feeling that way. Journaling is honestly what pushed me to go to therapy. I was having a lot of anxieties about what the future held, moving to a new city, dating, relationships. A lot of that stuff was really weighing on my mind, and so in sitting down and hashing out what I was feeling and thinking, it allowed me to realize that it might be pertinent to talk to someone about this, and I might be able to get help by doing so. The second thing that I learned with journaling is that journaling helps you to be more mindful. When I think about myself, and I'm sure a lot of you feel this way too, I often get caught up in thinking too much about the future. I'm not really worrying about what's going on that day or what's even going on within the next hour. I'm just constantly thinking about where am I going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So when you sit down and write out your current thoughts and feelings and emotions, it really helps you to be more present and think about what's going on in the here and now and not so much in the distant future. Lastly, if you're ever feeling down or sad or you had a bad day, sitting there and journaling really helps you to realize that it's just a moment in time. Although you might feel really bad in that particular moment, things do pass, and the way you feel right now is not forever. The third thing I learned about journaling is that journaling allowed me to vent, and it allowed me to express my anger and frustrations through words. I know a lot of the time people talk about going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, going for a run. These are really things that you can do physically to let off steam, but journaling is a way to do that mentally. Journaling really allows you to let out all your anger by writing down all your angry thoughts, all your mean comments. Maybe there's some cuss words you want to say that you can't really say to people. So by writing those down, it's essentially like going to the gym, but for your mind. The fourth and final thing I learned from journaling is that it can allow you to feed off of your own motivations. Let's say that you had a really good day, you felt productive, you got a lot of stuff done. By sitting down and writing that stuff out and essentially congratulating yourself, it allows you to feed off of your own confidence, and it really gives you a boost to keep going and keep doing what you're doing. I know for me personally that if I had a really good day at work, or I felt really productive, or I came up with some good ideas for the blog or the YouTube channel, writing those things out really allowed me to gain the confidence that I needed to keep going and keep pursuing those ideas and actions further. Now that I've talked a little bit about what I've learned through my journaling experience, I want to provide you with some tips and tricks so that you can get started with your own journal. My first tip with journaling is figuring out if you want to write physically or digitally. For me, I wrote my journal digitally. I think doing it digitally allows you to write out more of your thoughts, because obviously you can type faster than you can write with a pencil or pen. However, I think there are definitely benefits to doing it physically with a pen and paper, because you get the satisfaction of taking the time and being intentional with sitting down and writing out your thoughts. Essentially, there's no difference between the two methods. It really just depends on your preference and your schedule. My second tip for starting a journal is to be intentional with when and where you're going to write. I know for me, this is one of the things I struggle with because I didn't make journaling a part of my daily routine. I essentially journaled whenever I had free time. And so there were some times that I had to cram in a journal just to cram in a journal. And it didn't really allow me to dig deep and be more intentional with what I was writing down. There's a book called Atomic Habits, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, but there's a concept that he talks about in the book called implementation intention, and it's essentially a way for you to make a habit stick. So you get very specific with when and where you're going to do something. So for instance, with journaling, you might say something like, after I make my coffee in the morning, I'm gonna sit down at my desk and journal for 5 minutes. This is a very specific goal that you set for yourself, and so it's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable because you know when and where and how long you're going to do it for. My third tip for journaling is to give yourself prompts. For me, if I could go back and do it all again, I would give myself prompts, because essentially the way that I did it is I just word vomited onto a Word document. This certainly gave me the freedom to write about anything that I wanted, but often my mind was going in 10 different directions, and so there wasn't really a cohesive narrative to what I was writing. All you have to do for this is just Google journaling prompts. There are tons of different websites and tons of different prompts to choose from, so there's definitely no shortage of questions to answer. My fourth tip is to not beat yourself up if you miss a day. Being the perfectionist that I am, one of the things I used to do was beat myself up if I ever missed a journal. I failed to understand that schedules get busy and sometimes you just don't have the time to sit down and write a journal. So take it easy on yourself if you miss one. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that you shouldn't feel the need to make up a journal if you miss a day. One of the things about journaling is that it's an imperfect process. So essentially by missing a day, you're just contributing to the process. All that really matters with this tip is that you just get yourself back on track and realize that it's not the end of the world. My fifth, final, and most important tip when journaling is to practice self-awareness. When you're writing down journal entries, you essentially want to be a third-party observer. You want to be able to sit back, take a second, and question your own thoughts and patterns. You should really be asking yourself questions like, why am I feeling this way? What can I learn from myself? Or what can I learn from my own mind and how it operates? Essentially, just always make sure that you're questioning yourself so that you can improve and grow in your journey. Now that we've talked about my journaling experience, what I've learned, and I've provided you with some tips and tricks on getting started with your journaling journey, the last thing that you really need to do is just get started. Thank you guys for sticking around and taking the time and energy to watch this video. I would encourage you to leave a comment down below with any tips and tricks that you might have for journaling. Lastly, if you haven't already, make sure you go and watch my most recent video where I introduce my channel and lay out what you can expect. And you can find that right here. I will see you guys in the next one.